Are we?
Excellent. We are live. We are finally live. We made it. Welcome, everybody.
All right.
Excellent. Can you guys hear us? Can you type in the chat if you can hear us? Sorry, we're a little bit late. We had some technical issues. We finally resolved them and we are live now. I see there are a lot of questions. Please confirm that you can hear us in the chat.
And I don't know how well my connection is going to be. I'm in a bank, so I'm opening a couple of some business here, but I'm going to do the best we can. So, Carl, it'll be your show here tonight. Thanks again for joining us. Episode 9 live Q&A, and let us know if you can hear us. And
Perfect. All right, they can hear us well. Jesse, you're cutting out a little bit, but I heard most of what you said, but you're cutting out a little bit. Maybe the phone connection is not very good out there in the bank of Loja. But I'm here at the office here in Vilcabamba, and I'd be happy to take that on and answer your questions today. I'm using someone else's computer. The image quality is not very good, but it's all good. As long as you can hear me, we'll make this happen. So why don't we start from the top? We've got Vanessa Hunter, who's asking, hola, a few questions that many people might want to know. Best resource to learn Spanish as spoken in Ecuador if you live in US or Canada? That is a good question. I'm not really that familiar with different resources for learning Spanish. I know one thing that a lot of people use is Duolingo, and people have had really, really good results from that app, I guess. Duolingo is one of the ones that I know people use. I don't know if it will sound like the Spanish spoken in Ecuador. It might be a way to adjust, what country you're choosing from. A lot of times, those types of apps end up being more like the Spanish from Spain spoken language. But I would say that's a good way to start. If you want to email me, there's a Spanish tutor here in Vilcabamba who teaches classes to people here in Vilcabamba, and she also does online classes as well. So I can put you in touch with her as well if you want to email me at carl@abecuador.com. I'd be happy to do that as well. All right, number 2, how difficult is it to move pets like dogs to Ecuador? Is there a quarantine period? With the paro going on now, is travel to Ecuador just a bad idea? Those are good questions. I'm not really that sure about bringing pets to Ecuador. What I can tell you is a lot of people do it. It's not an uncommon thing. People bring their pets here all the time. I haven't heard of a quarantine period, but I don't have the exact information. All I can tell you is I know a lot of friends that have brought their dogs down from the US or Canada, and they haven't had any issues. So that's definitely doable. And then the paro going on, is travel to Ecuador just a bad idea? I don't think it's a bad idea at all. If you wanted to come to our area, I think you can still fly into Quito, and from Quito take a domestic flight to Loha, and here we can give you a ride from the airport down to Vilcabamba, and you wouldn't have any issues. The road between the airport and Loha to Vilcabamba is open, but I know around Quito there's been some issues. To be honest, it's possible that there was I heard something about flights being canceled, but it shouldn't be an issue. This is all going to get resolved probably in the next week or 2 maximum. That's my assumption, my prediction. But I do believe flights can still come into Ecuador without an issue. So I can verify that. Once again, if you want to email me at carl@abecuador.com, we can start talking about it. I'd be happy to help you and find the accurate information for you. Greetings from the States. Hi, Nathan. How's it going? We got hands here. What's going to happen with the retreat? So far, the retreat is still on. We anticipate that everything will calm down, like I said, with the with the protests over there in Quito and other areas. Now, like I said, I believe you can still land into Quito, take a domestic flight to Loja, and be able to get here without an issue. But you know, if anything happens and it's not possible, you know, we'll have to reevaluate. But at this point, the retreat is on. Everything's good. We hope that that everything will get back to normal pretty soon. Jesse, would you like to say something about this?
Yeah, are you guys able to hear me? I think I have pretty bad signal here where I'm at.
I can hear you well, actually.
You can. Okay, great. So yeah, jumping back to the pets for a second. So yeah, basically there's a certificate. You have to file a health certificate. That's through an APHIS certified vet. I've got my camera cut here because I don't think it'll support the signal. But it's very easy to bring in your dog and cat. There's no quarantine period. Basically, there's a health check. You need the vaccine schedule, and we do have all that information on file. So we'd be happy to share with you. But it's a pretty routine procedure, not difficult at all. Yeah, right now the paro is happening. It's not affecting us at all in our area. Everything is open here. All the roads are open. Everything is normal, business as normal where we are. I do understand up north in the Quito area that's not the case, but certainly flights are unaffected. And my expectation is that this would be something that fizzles out here over the next days, week, you know, something like that. We'll see. We've seen a lot of these in the time that we've been here. 9 years for me, I think 11 or 12 or so for you, Carl. You know, I've seen probably 6 of these or so in the time I've been here. There's only been one that sort of turned into anything semi-serious. Beyond that, they're pretty limited in scope. It's kind of stuff that makes international headlines, but are not as big a event in country. Although I do understand that up north there is still road closures and disruptions and so on and so forth. So interesting time. Yeah, don't expect certainly the retreat to be affected. Obviously, we would give refunds if the country were to disintegrate type of thing. But I'd put that percentage at 1/100th of 1% type of deal. So no issues in our area currently.
All right, very good. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, so how far is a walk to Chamba from town? I think it's about probably a 15-20 minute walk uphill, maybe a little, maybe 20 minutes uphill. Downhill into town, it might be a 10-15 minute walk. So it's not too far from town. Chamba, for those who don't know, is a community, like a intentional community. Some people might call it a hippie community, over, outside of town here in a beautiful area right on the river. They do different activities there, dance, music, and things like that. A lot of artists live there. It's a cool place to visit, definitely. All right, is the Vilcabamba Malacatos area affected by the paro? Yeah, like Jesse said, we're not really being affected. One thing I heard, yes, there are some food items that have gone up, but my understanding, it's just the providers of those foods are taking advantage of like the scarcity of the food right now because of the paro, and they raise some of the prices. It's not like food prices are going up indefinitely. It's more like just for this time, certain things have gone up a little bit for that reason. Would you like to add anything, Jesse?
Hey, no, yeah. Like I said, nothing really going on at all in our area. Yeah, I have seen a couple of slight price increases, as you mentioned, but I don't think that's really has anything to do with anything at this point. But yeah, no, in our area, we've been affected.
Very nice, yeah. Nathan mentioned the Saturday market video. Yeah, Jesse and I did a nice video about the Saturday market, which is the organic market here in Vilcabamba. Every Saturday morning, all the organic producers come together to sell their produce. It's really nice to have that. It's kind of a treat, to have this in Vilcabamba. Most of Ecuador wouldn't have necessarily an specific organic market. we have that here, so that's really nice. Check out our YouTube channel. You might have seen our video. There's some interesting things going on here in Vilcabamba. All right, everyone can hear us. Someone says there's no quarantine period. Yeah, that's right. Leslie, see you in July, Leslie, from Langley, BC. Excellent, excellent. All right, we got Vitali Medlenko is asking, how hard is it to find rent in Vilcabamba or Loha? 2 or 3 bedrooms in city or out of city? Would a price be different? I would say, from my perspective, it would be a little bit easier to find a rental, a 2-3 bedroom apartment or house in Loha than it would be in Vilcabamba. There's a little bit of a shortage of rentals here. Not that it's impossible, but I think there's just a lot more available in the city of Loha. So, and prices, yeah, prices will probably be somewhat similar. Vilcabamba, believe it or not, might be a little bit more expensive than Loha, even though it's a small town. There's just a lot of demand for rentals here, for people who are coming here for the first time. They're looking for a place to stay. And there's long-term residents as well that are renting. They're not, maybe not capable of buying a property here. So Loha has a lot more going on. There's, bigger apartment buildings, with condos and things like this. So that's what I can say. And yeah, prices might be slightly higher in Vilcabamba, like I said. But yeah, if you're coming here, if you're looking for a rental, feel free to contact us. We can help you with that. If you're interested in buying property and looking for a place to rent first, once again, we can help you with that. All right, is there any rock climbing in the Vilca or Loha areas? Not that I know of. I don't know of any rock climbing here. That would be something interesting to do. And maybe there is, but I've never heard or seen it. I think some of those like rock climbing looking mountains might be a little too brittle for actual rock climbing. But there's probably I think there are some areas that have, mountains that are made of mostly rocky material that's not like clay and sand and rocks mixed together. Those would be interesting areas to actually start doing some rock climbing. I think that could be very popular here. So that's a great idea. If you're into that, Roman, if you come down, might be an interesting thing to look into for sure. All right, Bridget asks, is there access to good healthcare in Vilcabamba or Loha? Yes, the answer is yes. The healthcare in Vilcabamba is much more, shall I say, simple. There's a public hospital in Vilcabamba. They can attend any type of emergencies. For higher level healthcare, you would have to go to the city of Loha, which has really, really good hospitals, actually. I've never used much of it myself, but I know a lot of people who have gone to the private hospitals in Loha and have gotten world-class service, really, really good care, and it's actually pretty affordable. The public service here, the public hospitals are free. The private sector, of course, you have to pay for, but it's still very affordable. And the quality of treatment is pretty high. There's a lot of, upper class, upper middle class and upper class Ecuadorians who use only the private system, and they need all sorts of same type of treatment that you would have in the Western world. And so they have high-end equipment and specialists in all sorts of different branches, which is really good to have. 45 minutes away from here, you have a really good private hospital. So I would say the healthcare is really good in Loha. In Vilcabamba, from my experience, I've had a broken ankle. I went there, they took some x-ray, they put a cast on me, and that was 100% free. Right here in Vilcabamba, some years back, I had that done, and it was really good too. And that's the public hospital here. For anything major, you would want to go to the private hospital in Loha. Public hospitals in Loha, I think they're just a little crowded because they're free, of course. So I would say anything with good healthcare would have to be in a private hospital in general. But once again, I've never used the public hospitals in Loha, so I don't know. When's our next retreat? Our next retreat, well, the coming up retreat is on July 16th. We haven't decided the dates for the next one after that. We were thinking maybe October, November, but we have not decided that yet. It could even be sooner than that if there's enough demand. So we'll have to make a decision. If you want to write down the comment, if you're interested to come in coming at one of our retreats in the future, not this coming one, but the next one, what dates would be more convenient for you? We might want to make our decision based on what people are looking for or wanting. So the next retreat, there'll definitely be a next retreat. We're excited about it as well. And we haven't decided the exact dates, but the retreats that we have coming up is on July 16th, from July 16th to July 23rd, and it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, Shami 74 is saying she's really worried about finding a large enough place for her family since she has 6 kids. Yeah, that might be somewhat of a challenge, but there are some 4 or 5 bedroom houses that you can rent here, so it's not impossible at all to find. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think we can help you with that. And then if you wanted to build a house, you can definitely build a big enough house for your whole family. Andrew Cossi asks, 90 days total outside Ecuador for the first 2 years. So I think, well, I'm assuming what you're talking about is to get permanent residency. There are restrictions on how much time you can be outside the country between your temporary to your permanent residency. And the way that works, my understanding is, you don't have to, if you're not able to be outside the country for only 90 days in the first 2 years, because that is the restriction. So that means you can only be out of the country for 90 days during the first 2 years. You have to be inside of Ecuador for the remainder of the time. If you're not able to do that, you can continue on a temporary residency visa and you won't get your permanent residency. And we have a video on our YouTube channel where Jesse interviews Joseph Guznai. You're welcome to check it out. He has all the information about that. But you don't need to go and get permanent residency if you're not able to remain in the country for the first 2 years for only to be out of the country for only 90 days. You can continue on a temporary visa, and I think you have to renew it, but you can still live here without having to be here for that amount of time. What would be a price range for those rents? That's a good question. Here in Vilcabamba, which is what I'm most familiar with, like a fully furnished 2 or 3 bedroom apartment goes between $300 to $500 a month, more or less. 500 will be on the higher end, 300, on the lower end. Houses, they go for around the same. You can find something for 500, 600. You can find some cheaper rentals than that. But yeah, I would say, this building where we're renting, I'm pretty sure they rent 2 bedroom apartments upstairs, fully furnished, for $350 a month. So that kind of gives you an idea. If you have if you want a 3 bedroom, you might have to pay a little more. But I think you can still find a nice 3 bedroom apartment for around $350, maybe $400 a month, more or less. Houses are a little different. There's a little harder to come across, and there's different quality of houses. The modern, buildings in town that have rental apartments, usually they're somewhat of the same quality, fully furnished. So it's not too bad. You can basically live on $300 to $400 a month for an apartment. Then yeah, if you're looking at a nicer home, 3 bedrooms in a nicer area, you might pay up to $600, $700, $800 a month, depending on or even higher, in a gated community with swimming pool. So there's a variety of price ranges for rentals. Yeah. How far is the nearest place to swim? That's interesting. So there's different places you can go swim. Of course, there's swimming pools, but I'm assuming you're talking about more natural settings. I can tell you about both. So you can basically walk 5 minutes from downtown Vilcabamba and get to a nice clean river where you can go for a swim. Now, swimming is, if you're gonna try to swim, The rivers are probably too shallow for most of the year to actually get a swim, but you can dip in the river, get a really nice, rejuvenating, refreshing river. You can jump in the river and it feels very good and invigorating. And that's very far from very close, sorry, from downtown Vilcabamba. If you want to go to places where there's deeper swimming holes, there are some of that as well. I know one in San Pedro, which is, if you were to walk, maybe half an hour walk from Vilcabamba, you can take a cab, and in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you could be at a nice swimming hole over there. There's other spots up the mountain as well that have a little bit deeper areas to swim. Actually, you can go to the zoo, which is about another 5-10 minute walk from Vilcabamba town square, and there's a river area that has a low head dam. It was like a cemented area that drops, and there's a nice spot there where you can actually swim. There's nice area to swim. And then right across the street from there, you have a swimming pool, which you have to pay, I think, 50 cents or $1 or something like that to get into. And it's a nice big swimming pool. You can go for a swim there as well, inside of what they call the zoo, or the vivero is also what it's being called. It's a nice spot for sure. Tom, greetings from Ohio. Greetings from Vilcabamba, Tom. Amy says she's interested sometime in September. All right, interesting. That's for the retreat, I'm assuming. Yeah, that could be a nice option. September, if we have enough people who seem interested for that time, I would definitely consider doing another one then, because July, August, September, yeah, that'd be great. So we'll definitely consider that. Roman. Carl, what made you pick Ecuador and the Vilcabamba area when you first arrived? That's a good question, Roman. I had some internet friends, some acquaintances that lived here, and me and my girlfriend at the time, who's not my current wife, we were considering coming to Ecuador to visit them, basically. So that's more or less why we came down. We like the idea of clean food, clean water, healthy lifestyle, nature, all of that stuff. We'd watch a few things on the internet, and that's sort of why we came down. Now, I traveled through Ecuador. I went to the north, Quito. I went over to the coast, went to Cuenca, seen different areas, the jungle. Now I've seen a lot more now that I work in real estate. But Vilcabamba so far is definitely my favorite place in Ecuador. If I compare the weather, if I compare the type of people, the community, those are the main two things, actually. And also work opportunities for me here. I've had a lot more success. I mean, I've had a lot of work opportunities here that maybe I wouldn't have in other areas, because there's so many expats in this area. So for all those reasons, we chose Vilcabamba. Then I met my wife, a year after I arrived, and she also loved this place. But I did travel all through Peru, from the north all the way to the south, and then to Bolivia, and traveled within Bolivia for 4.5 months in total, and saw a lot of those areas as well. And decided that I miss Vilcabamba. I love this place. I made a lot of friends here. I liked, like I said, the lifestyle, the community, the opportunities. So I decided to come back. We decided to come back to Vilcabamba, and we decided to have a family here. And this is our home. This is the place that I've chosen, for all the reasons I've mentioned. Vilcabamba is a great place. I mean, it's not for everyone. If you're used to going to the mall and the comforts of the Western lifestyle, and you want to constantly be stimulated, Vilcabamba is a small town in the Andes Mountains. But if you love nature, if you love community, if you love tranquility, peace, low cost of living, amazing weather all year round, Vilcabamba is really a good option. That's what I would say. Birgit is asking, hopefully the retreat will be very successful. There'll be more next year. Definitely, there'll definitely be more next year. We definitely want to keep doing it. Probably quarterly. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we even do it monthly if there's enough demand for it. But yeah, so far we have just around 20 people signed up. So our maximum, our cap was at 30. So we basically still have 10 open space. Of course, we'll still do it with 20 people. That's plenty. But if any of you are interested in coming, we still have some open spaces. It will be definitely really cool, really fun. You'll get a lot of information. You'll get a great experience trying out all the good restaurants in Vilcabamba, spending time with locals, spending time with the community, learning from experts, and yeah, getting to know each other, having a great time, visiting all the different areas. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great. We hope to see you here if you're interested. All right, Shami, can you put multiple homes on a large enough piece of bought land, or does that require special zoning? That's a good question. Every area has different zonings, but in the rural areas, yes, you can definitely put multiple homes on a large enough piece of land, right? If you have a big piece of land, you can put multiple homes on it. I don't know exactly how they decide those types of things, but there's definitely, I know people that have 4 or 5 homes or buildings on their properties. If you have big enough land, you can definitely do that. So no worries. Roman, what would it cost to add a swimming pool to a home in Vilca? Are there swimming pool businesses in the area? That's an interesting question. Yes, there are swimming pool businesses. We recently met with a gentleman who does that for a living, builds swimming pools for people. I don't have an exact price per square meter, but for $15,000, even a little less, probably, you can build a big enough pool. Yeah, I don't have the exact dimensions, but I know someone who recently put a pool in, a nice size pool for around 15,000. Of course, if you want a larger pool, you're looking at more, but I'll find out exact prices per square meter, which is usually how it's calculated here when it comes to these things. And the depth probably has something to do with it, with price as well. But I can get that over to you, Roman. If you want to email me, once again, carl@abecuador.com. I'd be happy to find that info for you. But yeah, there are pool companies, different builders also, I have a builder friend who's built pools for some of his customers. So pools here are typically, cement and tiles. So liners are kind of rare. I haven't seen many pools with liners. They're usually tiled, but I might be wrong. There might be pools with liners as well. And yeah, they're definitely a lot less expensive than what you're probably used to, in the US or Canada, where it's quite expensive to build a pool here. Labor is relatively cheap, so you can get a lot more done with your dollars. Amy, are there any alternative medicine doctors in Vilca? Definitely, there's a lot of different natural healthcare practitioners, alternative medicine doctors of various kinds. Once again, I haven't used a lot of their service myself. Jesse actually has a lot more to say about it. I'll let you talk in just a second, Jesse, but there's homeopaths, there's chiropractors, there's a lot of different alternative technologies, healing devices that people use as well. A lot of different massages, I believe there was a Chinese medicine doctor as well. There are medical doctors who use, natural alternative techniques, as well as more of the what do you call it, allopathic medicine type. So there's a variety of different healers, healthcare practitioners, natural healthcare practitioners. Jesse, why don't you jump in here and give a little bit of your take on it and the things that I missed? I don't know. I can't hear you, Jesse. Maybe Jesse's not here anymore. Unless I hear you, I'll just keep going. All right. All right, I'll just go ahead and go to the next one. But yeah, there's plenty of alternative medicine doctors here. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no space for more. There's probably different fields that are not being covered yet. But yeah, there's very, very talented and skilled experts in different fields of natural medicine in Vilcabamba. It's a place that attracts those types of people. So that's something to keep in mind. It's very easy to get a good massage here. It's very easy to get different therapies done. Like I said, there's many chiropractors and different types of healing methodologies. Okay, Andrew, do you know any tax experts? I trade stocks and options with a Canadian TFSA. Yeah, we have. Jesse could tell you a lot more about it. There's an accountant, tax expert here that we use for the company. He's fantastic, very intelligent guy, and we could hook you up with him. get you in touch with him or others. Now in Ecuador, if you are making a wage, if you're trading stocks, for example, in Canada, my understanding, you don't need to pay taxes on that income in Ecuador, of course. If you're coming to Ecuador to work and generate income here in the country, then after past a certain amount of monthly income or yearly income, you have to pay taxes in Ecuador. But if you're making money any other countries, not in Ecuador, you're not liable for any tax within Ecuador. Do they do natural pools? That's a good question. Yes, I know someone, a builder friend, like I said, who built natural pools that use plants to filter the water and a circulation system. I don't believe it uses salt, actually. I think the plants filter and clean the water, and there's a whole system there. But yeah, people do build natural pools. Actually, I know someone else in the gated community there who built a really beautiful natural pool with a waterfall and plants that filter, once again, the water and clean it. And beautiful, beautiful thing. It's very special. And people do that, and know how to do that in Vilcabamba, actually. Where do you recommend to buy a used car? From Ashley. Asher. A used car in Vilcabamba. Yeah, so personally, I would say what I would do, there's different ways you can do. Some people buy cars in Quito because there are more models available, and mostly for that reason. And you pay a little bit less because they don't have to travel. They get imported into the country and sort of go to Quito, and somehow car prices are slightly lower up there. So yeah, some people buy cars in Quito or Cuenca. It is not recommended to buy a car on the Ecuadorian coast, anywhere on the coastline, even in Guayaquil or any of the coastal cities, because of the salt and the oxidation, the rust that comes from that. So what typically people do is they buy cars that tend to hold and have slightly more value in the Andes Mountains or the areas that are not as humid, and the salt from the ocean as well. And but yeah, so what I would do, I would go to the Loja, the city of Loja, and get a car there. It's convenient. It's 45 minutes away. You can drive it here very easily. And the way I would go, if you buy a brand new car, of course, you go to a dealership. There's plenty of dealerships in Loja, Toyota, Chevrolet, et cetera, Kia, Hyundai. Those are more of the typical cars that you find here. I'm probably missing a few, but certain cars are not widely available here, like luxury car, what we call luxury cars. European cars are not very common here. Some brands. But yeah, so you can go to a dealership in Loja for a brand new car. There are used car dealerships. I've bought a car there before. It was a good one, but I was told that sometimes you want to be careful with those used car dealerships because they might hide a few things. And so what I would do, what I have done in the past, I would find all the cars that I'm interested in on Facebook Marketplace, which is, you probably know what Facebook Marketplace is. That's typically what Ecuadorians will list their vehicles on, motorcycles, cars, etc. And I would meet them at a mechanic that I trust in Loja, a brother of a friend here in Vilcabamba that has a mechanic shop in Loja, and I would meet them there, and I would get the whole car inspected, get all the compression from every cylinder, lift the car, look at everything, just do a total inspection of to see if there's any issues. And when the car, so I went and inspected multiple cars and basically bought the one that had the least problems, that was in the better shape. Of course, these people typically don't speak English, so you have to generally speak Spanish to be able to get them to meet you there. And the mechanic only speaks Spanish as well. So it's not that easy or user-friendly for everybody, but that's what I have done. And I've had good success, buying cars that are in good shape. And and if there are issues with the car, you can get sort of a quote from the mechanic. Hey, it's going to cost you this or that to replace this or that, and then you can negotiate the price based on that as well. And that's what I would do. But yeah, the used cars dealerships, you can do the same. You get them, you say, hey, listen, I want to buy this car, I like it. Let's go to the mechanic, let's go check it. And then if the mechanic tells you it's good, you just pay a little bit of a premium when you go to the used car dealership, which, like I said, I've bought a car there before as well. And long answer. All right. Have you been to Macara on the border? What is it like? If so, I have crossed the border into Macara. I took the bus from Loja to Piura in Peru. So I've crossed there on the bus, but I've never spent any time in Macara or right across the border. I'm sorry, you asked me just about Macara. So yeah, I've been through Macara on the bus going towards Peru, but I've never spent any time there. So I don't know really what it's like, but I've gone through there. It's the major, I believe it's the #1 border crossing between Ecuador and Peru. It's literally right there on the Peruvian border. Can you fly to a beach from the Loja area? I think right now, and I might be wrong, Jesse, you're welcome to jump in if you have any other info, but I think right now you can't fly from Loja to beaches. What you have to do is you fly from Loja to Quito, and then from Quito you can fly to Guayaquil, you can fly to Manta, you can fly probably, those are the main two, maybe to Esmeraldas, I don't know, I'm not even sure. I think they have an airport there, but at least, yeah, from Loja right now, there's mostly, I believe at this point, there used to be a flight between Loja and Guayaquil. I believe at this point it's Loja, Quito, and then Quito to wherever else you want to go. So it's doable. It's an extra flight, it's an extra cost, of course, but it's not like flying between Loja and Quito is 55 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour. So it's very fast, you're flying, whereas by car it's more like 12 to 14 hours of driving. So, flying to Quito is very quick. And then from there, you can fly into Guayaquil and go to the beach. What are the costs of used cars generally? Yeah, generally it's a little bit vague, but they're definitely more expensive than what you're used to in the US or Canada. Probably 3 to 4 times more. And I'm not exaggerating, maybe 3 times more for certain cars. But the good thing is the cars don't lose their value. So I don't know, I could give you some examples. I mean, yeah, used cars are not cheap, but yeah, like I said, the good thing, they don't lose their value. They, like the labor is, relatively inexpensive. So a mechanic can basically fix anything you want or need on your car. You can find replacement parts, and cars last so much longer here than they would elsewhere because the labor is so cheap. In the US and Canada, you get rid of your old cars because they're so expensive to fix. It's not worth it. You can buy another used one or a newer one, that'll last you for longer. Here, that's not the case. Here, really, really old car, 1970, 1960 sometimes, definitely 1980, 1990, 2000s. You find those cars everywhere. The older stuff is a little more rare, but still you find these really old cars still driving around. And they're not considered here like antiques or special expensive cars. People drive them like normal vehicles. So people have these like really old 1976 or 1980 Land Cruisers that they repaint, they make them look really nice. And those types of cars here are much cheaper than they would be in the US. So if you're into those types of like older sort of antique cool cars, here you can get them for actually a lot cheaper. Like a little Volkswagen Beetle, I wouldn't recommend that type of car here at all, but those old ones, they're expensive. Like in the US, they're like considered, specialty, antique cars. Here you find them for like $3,000 to $5,000. They're very cheap, but they're not really good cars. I mean, actually, I've never really tried them. I know one person in town here has one, and they seem to be doing all right. But those types of cars, you can find those for cheaper. And they still run fine because they get they're constantly getting fixed. They're constantly getting new parts. So yeah, so like, for example, I have a 2010 Suzuki Grand Vitara SZ. It's a good car. It's a 4x4. It's a V6 engine. I like it. I think it's great. I paid $12,000 for it. They're reliable. It has a good engine. It's higher up. It has good clearance. It's good for these types of roads. But yeah, Jesse always says, he recommends people getting a 4x4 diesel pickup truck. Like here, they're Toyota Hilux or Chevrolet D-Max. Those are the more common ones. Those are really good, reliable cars. They last forever. They can get, really, really high mileage, and they're good pickup trucks for sure, which is true here. They have good clearance. They're really good for those roads. They go up anywhere. But yeah, you're looking at, I don't know the exact price, but yeah, you might be looking at like 15 to 20,000 to get something decent with those types of cars, the diesel pickup truck. So yeah. All right. Carl, any concern with future employment for your kids? We have 3 kids, but worry about future prospects. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I haven't spent that much time thinking about it deeply. Who knows where the world's going to be in the future. But yeah, for me personally, I want to raise my kids as, future entrepreneurs. And I think there are a lot of opportunities here for entrepreneurship, for investment opportunities as well. So, my children, we'll see, what they're interested in, what they want to do. But I do believe that, especially raising kids here, they'll speak fluent Spanish. They'll understand and know the culture really well. I would say as an entrepreneur, there are opportunities. Now, if my children, I wouldn't want my son to become a builder or, a type of manual labor that Ecuadorian workers do really well, because typically those types of things don't get paid very much, and you're competing against Ecuadorians that are very strong, resilient, and they know what they're doing somewhat. So I would say for good opportunities for work, you have to think a little outside the box. You have to sort of make your own path, and I would say probably be an entrepreneur. I would say that would be what I would, do with my children. Finding work, like getting a job here, employment. Yeah, I would say that probably better to be self-employed and yeah, an entrepreneur, an investor, rather than finding a job in Ecuador. Now, once again, if you study and get a good good diploma, and like if you want attorneys, doctors, these are good jobs here as well for sure. Typically, attorneys will work at a firm, so they're somewhat self-employed from that standpoint. But yeah, that's what I would say for that. All right, Elder Donnie. Can an expat from USA living on only Social Security buy a house in Ecuador? Well, yes, you can definitely buy a house in Ecuador. If you're talking about getting financing, that's a little more challenging. So interest rates are very high in Ecuador. You're looking at 15% a year for those types of loans. So it's very high. You probably wouldn't want to take them anyways. But yeah, if you have a Social Security and you want to buy a house and you have cash, you can definitely buy a house here. Now there is sort of new rules when it comes to residency visas for people that have pensions and Social Security, and it needs to be above, I think it's $1,275 a month. So just around $1,300 a month, US dollars. You have to have that or more to be able to fit the requirements for pensions, the pensioner visa in Ecuador. So if your Social Security is less than that, it wouldn't allow you to get the residency visa, at least with the pensioner's visa is what it is. But yeah, you can come here if you want to buy a house. We'd be happy to help you. Ted. Hello from West Virginia. Love to make it there. Love to make it there one day. Excellent. We had some really good friends from West Virginia. Unfortunately, they left a little while back, but yeah, real good people down in West Virginia. There's a nice song about it. I'm sure you know it. All right. Do you know KSH? Do you know if a person comes on a retiree visa with the minimum income requirements and later the minimum increases, would you have to leave? No, I'm pretty sure not. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I know people personally that have come here with the investor's visa. Back in the days when it used to be $25,000, you'd have to invest. And they got the residency visa through that, and they still have the same visa, even though that number increased. So I believe, pretty sure that would be the same thing if your visa, if you apply now, you get it now, then in the future they raise the amount or they lower the amount, it wouldn't affect you. They've already given you the visa. They wouldn't be able to change that on you. I So Vitalia asked, I heard that in order to get a driver's license, you are required to have a school diploma. Is that true? That's an interesting question. Actually, I know what you're talking about. If you want to, this is more or less the reason why it's sort of set up like this is if you want to do the proper driver's license, driver's test, and the driving school process, on your driver's license, they have to write sort of what schooling you have, and you need to have at least minimum schooling. So you need to prove that you've gone to elementary school, I believe. Now, I could say I've helped people. I mean, people have gotten driver's licenses here, and they didn't need to prove that they went to school, have any school diplomas. So you can work it out without needing to do that, basically. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I didn't have to prove that I had any school diploma to get my driver's license. It's not necessary. There's a process. I think it's only if you want to go through actually the driving school and you don't have a driver's license in your country of origin, then maybe you'll have to prove that. But that's about it. If you can prove that you already have a driver's license in your country of origin, you won't need to prove that you have any school diploma. All right, that's basically what it is. Elder, there was a large jump this year from minimum 400 to 1,200 for the retirement visa. That's correct. That's correct. There was a huge increase there. Some people are critical of it. Of course, it cuts some people out of that potential of getting that residency visa. Now, things in Ecuador tend to change relatively quickly. The government that's in charge right now, they could change that, or the next government coming in could reduce it again. I think maybe they will start to realize that there's maybe less people coming for that reason, because it prevents some people from being able to get residency visa, and I believe that's a downside for Ecuador if Ecuador lives off of tourism and people that are retiring and moving here. Now, less people are going to be able to get it. So my hunch is that that's probably going to change in the future, but it's difficult to know. And yeah, I don't know exactly why they did that. To me, it seems like they would benefit more from leaving it at 400. That way, there'd be more people who want to come here, retire, invest in Ecuador, and spend, improve the economy in our area and other areas as well. Roman, can you talk about the city of Gonzanama, pros and cons? Interesting. Gonzanama, I've only been there a few times, so I'm not that familiar, but I love it. I think it's beautiful. It's up in the mountains. Benefits, pros, I would say the pros, property prices are lower there. That would be the main pro. Seems like it's very fertile. There's a lot of ganaderia. There's a lot of cattle farming there. People are making cheeses. It's a popular, the Gonzanama cheese or quesillo type of cheese is popular coming from there. It's colder than Vilcabamba. It's, I would say, I'm not sure if it rains a little more there. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it's about the same when it comes to rain. But yeah, it's definitely a slightly colder, it's higher elevation, and very quiet, very peaceful. Not very many foreigners there. There are some, I know there are some foreigners there. We have a new property that's coming up on the market from an American family there that's going to be selling it. So there's some foreigners out there, but not as many. I could see though Gonzanama becoming more popular for foreigners over time, especially because price of property is lower. And yeah, it's on the way to Loha. It's not like there are some people from the city of Loha who have their second homes in like Gonzanama. So that's more or less what I can say. Yeah, otherwise it's more or less the same. The vegetation might be slightly different because it's higher elevation, but it's sort of comparable to Yangana, which is closer to here. It's about 30 minutes from Vilcabamba. Altitude is similar. There's a lot of ganaderia, a lot of ranch cattle farming there, and they make cheese there as well. Joshua, is Vilcabamba bicycle friendly? Definitely. Vilcabamba is very bicycle friendly. Well, it doesn't mean there's like bicycle paths or bicycle tracks on the roads. There's not really much of that, but there are a lot of people who use bicycles in Vilcabamba. That used to be my only transportation for a few years when I first got here. There's bicycle trails and walking trails along the rivers that you can go on without having to go through the roads. There's a bicycle culture here. It's popular here. There's mountain bike, downhill mountain biking in various areas. Of course, we're in the mountains, so there's a lot of that. And there's a nice bicycle shop in town. There's a guy named Chino. He can build you a bike. He gets all the parts and he puts it together the way you need it. There's also a new phenomenon which is electrical bicycles. People, there's electric bikes everywhere now. So that's really nice. It's sort of a hybrid. You can still pedal and use, your leg muscles, but you can also use the battery and get a little more speed and go much farther away. So that's also really cool to look into if you're interested in getting, eco-friendly, cheap transportation. Electric bicycles is becoming popular here as well. Hi, Carl. Is there a place in Loja to rent a car? Archon, yes, there are places in Loja to rent cars. There's one person, it's a sort of a rental dealership, but his name is John Mora. I've worked with him a few times now. I've had people renting his cars. He doesn't have a huge variety, but he has some good sort of brand new cars for rent. And the price went up a little bit with everything going up, but I think it's around 60. It's between $50 and $70 a day, depending on the type of car. But I think the Hyundai Tucson 2022, basically a brand new car that he's renting it for $60 a day. So that's more or less what you're looking at here. And they're good, nice, brand new modern cars. So that's nice. But yeah, I'm sure there are other ones. There are not that many. I would recommend him. I've had a few of my clients working with him. I have a good friend who rents a car from him periodically, and reliable, trustworthy, pretty good. All right, Stan from Pennsylvania. Vaccines or testing required at the moment? Vaccines or testing required? Vaccines are not required for anything in Ecuador. You don't need a vaccine for anything basically at this point. There's no places that require vaccination to get in or to do any type of legal anything. Testing, you still require a negative PCR test to enter Ecuador as of today. That's my understanding. Drake, hello from Chile. Chile is rainy and cold. Yes, my friend. Chile is definitely colder than here, but you do have a warm summer as well. Yeah, interesting. Welcome to the channel, Drake. Wholeness, spirit, soul, body. Is it hard to get appliances, good in-home coffee machines, etc., and other home goods? I would say no, it's not hard to get these types of things. People have those. I mean, you can find those in city of Loha, for example, or a larger city like Cuenca, Quito, Guayaquil. You'd be able to find those. Now, if you have like a specific coffee machine that's imported from Italy, like a special brand, you might not be able to find that in Ecuador, or something else like a Vitamix blender. Like I have a few Vitamix blenders. Those typically you won't find them just anywhere in Ecuador. I think there's probably suppliers, even maybe retailers that have those. You can probably find that online, but they're not common. The repair guy is not going to have the parts and that type of thing. They're not a common blender here. Probably same thing if you're looking for like a very unique type of appliance. But yeah, Ecuador actually manufactures refrigerators, freezers, laundry machines, ovens, dryers, all of that stuff. They actually make them in Ecuador, so they're easy to find. And I have an Ecuadorian brand refrigerator and freezer. I've never had any issues with them. They're literally, I bought them years ago. They're still working like new. So I don't know. I was expecting them to break after a while, and they don't. They haven't. So maybe I got lucky. Maybe I got the model that's really reliable. But yeah, so that's nice. So you can find all of those things here. You can import some of those goods here in a container from your country of origin. Appliances is what I mean. But a lot of people do it. I don't think there's any major issue with it. But like I said, maybe the only thing is if you need it repaired, they might not have the parts available here to be able to fix them if they need to be repaired. So that's a bit of a downside. All right, Hans, are there automatic cars? Yes, there definitely are automatic cars. Most newer cars, modern cars tend to be automatic. Most used older cars tend to be more standard. You can find automatic cars. They're a little more rare and not as desired by locals. Maybe that will change with the generations. The younger generation might get more used to automatic cars, which is the case in US, Canada. But in Ecuador, most people know how to drive standard, and it's more desired to have a standard car, especially up in the hills and the mountains. It's nice to have, a clutch, gears, handbrake. You have more control over the vehicle. Whereas an automatic car, you don't have that. I prefer driving stick shift, but yeah, that's a personal thing. And I was, lived all of my 20s in Ecuador, so I got used to the Ecuadorian ways as well. Roman, do many people use motorized scooters in Vilcabamba area or rentals? I don't believe there's any rentals for motorized scooters. You can rent motorized electric bicycles. You can rent those. Might be an interesting thing to start a rental business for motorized scooters, motorcycles, and that type of stuff, because that doesn't really exist here. It probably would be popular. But yeah, people use motorized scooters though, very common. There's electric and gasoline scooters, just like anywhere else. So yeah, they're definitely here. They're available. They're good. Some models are probably better suited for the type of roads we have here. If you have a lot of potholes and dirt roads and hills, you want to have scooters that are adapted for that. So not those city bubble tire scooters for sure. Vanessa is asking about since we're talking so much about cars, do you drive with steering wheel on left or right? That's an interesting question. No, here you drive just like in the US or Canada. Now I'm like thinking about it. It's on the left-hand side of the car. That's all right. Yes, you drive on the left-hand side of the car, just like in the US or Canada. Not like in the UK or I believe Australia also drives on the other side of the road. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. There's another one here. Is there a flight from Guayaquil to Catamayo? I don't believe so. And if you want to look it up, you can use your search engine right now. Go on aeroregional.ec. Is that what it is? I'm gonna try it out right here. I'm gonna just aeroregional.net. Disculpa. All right, aeroregional.net. I'm gonna copy and paste that in the comment section. There we are. Okay. Oops. What's that here? Yeah. Look up aeroregional.net and you can find all the flights. I don't believe there's a flight between Guayaquil and Catamayo currently. There was one back in the days. I've taken it. Nowadays, they stopped after the pandemic situation, so I don't believe it's there. Can you get a taxi from Catamayo to Loha? Yes, very easily. You can, if you fly into Catamayo, as you get out of the plane, you get your luggages out of the airport. There's tons of taxis. They'll take you anywhere you want to go. Most of the time, they take you to Loha, but they can take you all the way to Vilcabamba. So yeah, very easy to get a cab, get a taxi from Catamayo. If you need, we can set up a taxi if you're coming to Vilcabamba, for example. I have a network of taxi drivers that I trust, that I know are good, drivers, that I can send them over to you. So feel free to contact me if you want, if you need. Are there a lot of street dogs, cats in Vilcabamba and the towns around it? Good question. Yes, I would say there are a lot of street dogs, cats, more or less. They're probably more than where you're coming from, I think, because people here, they don't tend to there's no, I don't know, back where I'm from in Canada, my dad's actually a veterinarian. There was a whole thing where they would castrate and sterilize cats, stray cats and stray dogs for free. My dad did that as a vet, and to try to lower the population. That doesn't really happen here. So there's a good amount. Yeah, I think sometimes they get adopted. Sometimes a dog might be the town dog. Then everyone not everyone, but a few neighbors, they feed them once in a while, and they go from house to house and sort of get things that they can find. But yeah, you'll see them sometimes around the restaurant. The little dog will come and be like, "Hey, give me a few French fries," or something like that. That does happen. But yeah, it's not like they're everywhere and they're overpopulating the area, but they're around. There's some beautiful dogs actually that are street dogs, like gorgeous, pure breed dogs that you see walking around, just living wherever. Roman, how long do you think it will take Kenara to turn into the Vilcabamba style town? That's a good question, Roman. Someone was asking me that recently. I don't foresee that happening like anytime soon, even in the next 5 years. Kenara is an agricultural area. It's a little further out. It's another 20 minutes out of outside of Vilcabamba, 20, 25 minutes, depending on how fast you drive. And it's very different. It doesn't get a lot of traffic. People from Loha don't come here on the weekends. It's just different from that standpoint. I do believe it will continue to grow. It definitely has a lot of space to grow. I don't think it will ever be a Vilcabamba. That's my personal opinion. Vilcabamba has the tourism, it has the name, the Valley of Longevity. People from the city of Loha come here every weekend. The place turns to party town a few times a year for carnival and this and that. You got the waterfalls, you got the Podocarpus National Forest. These things Kenara doesn't have. Now, Kenara is a great place. It still has its charm of like rural Ecuador, not very developed. The people are friendly. It's very charming. I mean, it's smaller. It's like there's one street that goes through the middle of it. And there's a nice river there. People go rafting on that river. There's some great hiking. There's different things there. But I don't even know how big it is. It might be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people at the max, probably less, I think. So it's smaller than Vilca. And yeah, I don't think it will turn to a Vilcabamba, but it will continue to grow. There'll be more expats going there. It's nice. It's out. It's not too far out of Vilcabamba, but it's far enough to have much more. It's much more quiet. You don't hear a lot of noise. You might hear more donkeys and roosters and chickens there, but it's smaller. Yeah. So how long? One day it might be as big as Vilcabamba, maybe 10 years. But hey, it's very difficult to predict the future, I would say. See, like you can hear a car alarm. I don't think you'd hear that in Kenara very often, for example. How reliable is the electric grid? Any outage, power fluctuations? Is it 120 volts? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not an expert when it comes to electricity. Some houses have 120, other houses have 220. I was at a property today, they had 220 and one, there's a 210. What is it? No, voltage. I'm a total illiterate when it comes to that. There's 220 and 110. Yeah, so you 120 volts. I don't know what that means. So I don't know what it is, but there's very few power outages, very rare. A few times a year, maybe they're working on this or that. There's gonna be a little power outage for a while. Power fluctuations, no, I've never really seen that much. Unless your house is not really set up properly, then maybe there might be power fluctuations, but the electricity is really good here. My understanding, Ecuador has a lot of hydroelectric, dams. So it produces a lot of power from some big rivers that in the Amazon and various areas. That's more or less what I can say. Wholeness, spirit, soul, and body. Can we have a pet monkey? I don't know. It's a good question. Never seen anyone with a pet monkey. I've seen monkeys. There's certain areas that have wild monkeys living there. Probably in those areas, it'd be more likely that you could, get one from the environment and sort of domesticate it. I've never seen anyone with a pet monkey. I've seen a guy that had, parrots and not just parrots, but these beautiful exotic birds, not the toucans, like those beautiful parrot-looking birds. Someone had one, cockadoo. Anyways, you can have those types of exotic birds. At least I've seen people that have had those, but I have not seen anyone with a pet monkey. But I'm not sure what the laws are about it. All right, Vanessa, how do non-indigenous Ecuadorian people feel about the many indigenous people? That's a good question. Yeah, it varies. I would say it varies. I think overall, macaw, that's it. Okay. I think overall, they get along. There's no issues, right? Everyone gets along. It's fine. Just like the expats get along with the locals. I have plenty of Ecuadorian friends. But yeah, the indigenous sort of keep a little bit more to themselves. There's an indigenous community just in Vilcabamba, like a little outside of Vilcabamba. It's very small. It's probably like 10 families or something like that. You know, they have the braids, you know, they wear the hats sometimes, they have the traditional clothing. And they're great worker, they're hard workers. I have quite a few friends that hire them for their gardening, for their building and stuff like that. And yeah, I would say that they kind of just keep a little more to themselves. They have their own culture, they have their own ways of doing things. They, you know, they're part of the Ecuadorian population and they get along. There's some more like indigenous, you know, Amazonian people that, you know, live in the jungle and stuff like that. Those types I've never really met with them or visited them. So, but yeah, once again, you know, they're Ecuadorians. They speak Spanish. They have, you know, very similar cultural things. Yeah, they usually Roman Catholic, so they, you know, they go to the same churches, etc. So yeah, I think everyone feels good about everyone from my standpoint. Bugs, ticks, venomous snakes. There's some bugs like anywhere else in the world. Vilcabamba, there's not a ton of mosquitoes, which is nice. If you go higher in elevation, Yangana, Loha, there's no mosquitoes at all. What you have here sometimes that tend to bother people are the no-see-ums. Certain times of year, you know, they'll basically bite your ankles and bite your legs. You know, they're a little bit annoying. Ticks, I mean, and then there's a variety of other bugs. You know, there's different types of spiders. There's crickets, grasshoppers, you know, all of that stuff. There's beautiful butterflies, beautiful. There's some places that have, like you come in and you get like 100 butterflies, you know, just flying everywhere. There's beautiful butterflies, dragonflies. There's a certain time of year you see like fields full of, you know, beautiful dragonflies at night. And other things like that. And yeah, so there's a bunch of different varieties of insects, which is cool. Ticks, there are ticks. I've never had a tick on me. They're not very common. We had dogs at one point. Our dog had a few ticks, you know, on his ears, and we just pull them out. So, you know, they're in the grass, they're in the, you know, various areas, but they don't have any Lyme's disease or any type of like infectious disease that I know of here at all when it comes to ticks. So not really something to worry about at all. Venomous snakes, they do exist. There are some venomous snakes. They're not common. Once again, I've never seen one alive. I've seen a dead one. That's but they're in certain areas. Not so much here. Not so much here, and it's not really a cause of concern. Venomous snakes here at all. In the jungle, it definitely is. In the Amazonian regions, there's a lot more varieties of venomous snakes. You know, typically people just kill them when they see them. When they see any snake, the local people will just kill them because they might be venomous. And yeah, it's not a cause of concern in our area here. More or less in the whole Loha province, I would say it's not so much of a concern. How to make sure you get good internet? You just you go to there's now a few good internet providers here in Vilcabamba. I would say they're more or less all the same, you know, level of quality and whatnot. And then yeah, you get high enough speed. You know, you pay you pay enough. I think the max is like $60 a month, and you get, you know, the highest internet speed. You get that, and you'll make sure you have really good internet. There might be another plan you can maybe hire for 80 or something. I'm not really sure, but it's I don't know, 120 megabytes per second. It's very fast, high speed. You know, we don't have the best internet like in our office now. There's other grades that are higher. So, but you can have really good internet here. So that's what I would say. Is Spanish of the Castilian variety? Yes, definitely. They actually call it Castellano. If you know, you speak to someone, they're like, ¿Dónde aprendiste el castellano? Where did you learn to speak Castilian, right? That's the original Spanish from Spain, if I understand. From the Castillo means castle. So it's this probably the Spanish that was spoken in the castles, right? In the royalties, etc. And there's another anecdote. Apparently Loja won some type of prize for the South American area that kept its Castellano, that kept the most genuine form of Spanish. Loja apparently is where people speak the best Spanish, the best Castellano. So that's kind of cool. Yep. Carl, what do you like about Loja? Did you ever live there? Is it too rainy or cold for you? Yeah, you know, I could live in Loja. Like Loja is not terrible. It's not like super cold or super rainy where I wouldn't be able to live. I prefer living in Vilcabamba. I like the weather better. It's more comfortable. It's warmer. I like the community a lot better. Like it's smaller. I mean, it's also a small town, but also there's a lot of expats here. We have a lot of friends. We have really, really good. There's just a lot of great people here, honestly. Loja is much more local. Of course, there's some expats there as well, but it's a bigger city. But yeah, when it comes to like the weather, Loja is okay. I like going to Loja. I like to spend a day there. You know, hang out with friends, go to a restaurant, go do some business there and stuff like that. It's a nice spot, but I would prefer living here. And it does rain a little more in Loja as well. But you know, Jesse's lived in Loja for years. He liked it a lot. It's a nice city to go visit. It's a nice city to live as well. Everything's walkable. It's very comfortable, and it does get a little colder at nights and in the mornings, but during the day it's usually nice and warm. Yeah. No, I don't particularly like ticks either very much. FC, what kind of small scale passive investment opportunities are there? Something to start with and more about learning and experimenting than making money. Small scale passive. That's a good question. Jesse's the investor guy. Jesse knows is thinking about these things a little more probably than I. He probably has a nice nice answer to this. Small scale, I mean, what I see that a potential with, and that's somewhat not as small scale, but getting a piece of land and building small rentals that are sort of like, there's a nice sweet spot where you can build for cheap enough and you can charge a little more in rent because it's a special place, might be by a river, it might have something nice, great gardens, some type of community pool area or something, and generating income, passive income from rentals. That might be good. I mean, that's something I can, but there's a sweet spot. You don't want to build the houses too expensive, but you don't want to build them too cheap either. There's somewhere where you can find a nice balance with like Airbnb and getting a little more of a premium. That might be an interesting idea, but like that's not really small scale, I would say. You know, car rental business, or you mentioned scooters, or maybe electric motorbikes or electric bicycle rental. That's not a huge investment, and you can actually rent those to foreigners and tourists. And actually, that's a small scale investment that might be interesting. You know, for somewhat passive. I don't know if it's passive. Yeah, buying an apartment building in Vilcabamba, renting the apartments, you can get passive income from doing that. Agricultural projects, like I said, Jesse has a lot more he could say about this, but agricultural projects are interesting as well. Are we still live? Just want to make sure here. Okay, yeah, we're still live. Sorry about that. So yeah, there are other options. If you want to email jesse@abecuador.com, he probably has some other things he can tell you. I don't think he's on the call anymore, so I won't try to pull him in here, but Jesse has some interesting ideas. Guys, it's almost 6:30. I apologize. I went a little overboard here. My wife's been trying to call me. I've been denying her calls for a bit. I'm gonna get going. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It was great. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We're doing this every Thursday, 5 p.m. Please join us in next time. If you have any more questions, feel free to contact me once again at Carl, C-A-R-L, @abecuador.com. If you have any questions, any comments, anything you need, I'd be happy to help you. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, anything like that. We appreciate you once again. Very good. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and we will see you next time. Ciao.